Today we're going to talk about one crazy superhero. Seriously though, this guy's not right in the head. Welcome to Comic Misconceptions, a show that takes you into detail about the things you think you know about comics. I'm your host, Scott Niswander, and today we're doing a fan-suggested episode about Moon Knight. Who is Moon Knight, you wonder at me? Well, he's this guy right here. He's often one of the more overlooked characters in the Marvel Universe, which is a shame, because he's actually pretty awesome. So to shed some light on this character, let's begin with a little origin story. Mark Spector was a boxer slash marine slash CIA agent who was working under this other mercenary, Raoul Bushman. They were in Egypt on the search of an archaeological dig site that uncovered a temple to Khonshu, who is the god of the moon. Naturally, Bushman wants to go and loot all those goodies because that's what bad guys do, so he kills a member of the dig crew, and he also opened fires on civilians, and our boy Mark over here is like, come on, man. Don't do that. Bushman shows his evil villain status by beating Mark to the brink of death and then leaving him to the harsh elements of the Egyptian desert. Some peeps find him and carry his body to the feet of a statue of Khonshu. Then, he dies. The end. Nah, he comes back to life, and then he dedicates himself to becoming the moon's Knight of Vengeance. Get it? Moon Knight. He takes a cloak from the statue of Khonshu, gets his merciless revenge on Bushman, and decides to model a costume off of that cloak and go on a crusade against evil. That's pretty much Moon Knight in a nutshell, except it's not, because we still have a lot to cover, but he has fought with a lot of different weapons in his comic book career. The ones we're going to be talking about are the Egyptian weapons that he got from these peeps right here, who summoned him after he gave up being Moon Knight because he wanted to live a normal life. Among these weapons are a boomerang, scarab darts, and throwing irons. Now these guys just had these weapons laying around. I mean, the real question is, where did they get them? Which kind of leads back into last week's trivia question, you know, the one where I asked you guys who designed and built most of Moon Knight's Egyptian weapons. Congrats to Ryan Wenneker, who says Hawkeye. That is absolutely correct, and a very fun story in itself. So Hawkeye and a handful of other Avengers find themselves trapped in Egypt in 3000 BC. Now they find a group of Khonshu worshippers, and Hawkeye realizes, yeah, we're probably gonna be here a while, so I might as well make some weapons for everybody just so we have a fighting chance against anyone who's going to be attacking us. Now these Khonshu worshippers have some ivory laying around that they offer to give Hawkeye to make the weapons out of, so he just finishes making a boomerang, some darts, and some throwing irons when all of a sudden they get rescued and they leave. So Hawkeye leaves these weapons behind with the Khonshu followers, who will be the same people to give Moon Knight these weapons some 5,000 years in the future. Crazy sauce. Now aside from these and many other weapons that Moon Knight has used over the years, he also has claimed to have powers, at least at one point, being enhanced strength and reflexes and endurance, based on the lunar cycle getting strongest during a full moon. But it's not really clear whether this is actual supernatural abilities or it's just self-hypnosis, because this guy is not all there in the mind area. So let me explain. Spector was incredibly rich after his mercenary days, and that money would help him in his Moon Knight career, establishing different aliases, one being Stephen Grant, a New York millionaire that helped him make connections high up on the chain. Then of course there was Jake Lockley, a taxi driver who helped him make connections on the streets, and he still continued his life as Mark Spector, and also now he was being the superhero Moon Knight. So that's already 4 different identities that he has to juggle just living life. It was almost as if he was addicted to creating more and more personalities to try and keep track of. In the Ultimate Universe, he created another one called Ronin. In the Amalgam Universe, which is a universe that combines DC and Marvel characters into one character, Mark Spector himself was a split personality off of Dick Grayson and was known as Moonwing. Heck, he even developed personalities of Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Captain America that all simultaneously live inside of his head to help him problem solve. He even dressed as Spider-Man once and raided a strip club, so this guy's got more than a couple screws up in his head loose. So yeah, it's entirely possible that he could get powers from Khonshu. I mean, crazier things have happened, but then again, his powers aren't so crazy that it would be unbelievable to think that he just makes it all up in his head. He's so sick that he wholeheartedly believes he can do these things, and that mind over matter type thing helps him actually accomplish them. Moon Knight currently doesn't have any powers, but powers or not, he's still awesome. His costume is incredibly high-tech and has joint locking capabilities that allow him to support immense weight, which leads me to probably my favorite Moon Knight moment ever. So Moon Knight was being attacked by some thugs who were trying to bring down a building, so he sprung into action as the building was falling and just launched himself to support the building like so. This, of course, left him extremely vulnerable to the thugs. Or does it? Moon Knight locks his costume down so it's just an empty shell that's supporting this building, and then he proceeds to beat up these thugs in his underwear. Amazing. Guys, I haven't even scratched the surface of how incredible Moon Knight is. I suggest you go out there and read some comics to see for yourself. Also, I should say that he does get compared to Batman a lot. I mean, a rich guy fighting crime in the streets is a non-superpowered vigilante who uses an arsenal of thematic weapons and vehicles. Does sound pretty familiar, but we have to remember that Moon Knight has no problem killing people and is also way crazier than Batman is. And that's saying something. What do you guys think? Is Moon Knight Marvel's Batman? Let me know in the comments. But onto the part of the show that tests your knowledge and sets it up for next week's episode, which is an incredibly accurate description of the segment we like to call the Weekly Trivia Challenge. So next week will be our last Halloween-themed Comic Misconceptions episode, and I thank you guys so much for sending in your suggestions. We're going to be doing another viewer suggestion next week because we've been doing a lot of Yellow Lantern stuff with our show Behind the Frame, and a viewer wrote in and said, why not do a Yellow Lantern Comic Misconceptions? And I say to that, challenge accepted. So this week's trivia challenge is, where is the home world of the Sinestro Corps? If you know the answer or just want to leave your best guess, you can do so in the comments below. If you're right, you can be featured on the show next week. So get started on the Weekly Trivia Challenge Lens Flare. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Comic Misconceptions. If you enjoyed it, please do subscribe at the bottom right there. And also you can check out us on other social media sites that are on the screen right now. You can follow me on one as well. But most importantly, you should check out the NerdSync podcast. It is on iTunes right now. We'll see you next week when we talk about more things that you thought you knew about comics. See ya. And that leads, it does that indeed. I just got a Facebook notification, but I won't check it because I'm talking to you right now. This is us time. I respect that too much.